Heyo, Duckies and Dice Fiends, welcome back. It is Tuesday, and that means it is time for the Table Talk Show. I am Kay, one of your hosts, and I am here today with my usual partner in crime, David, who's over here, I believe, on the overlay. I hope I'm pointing the right direction, and a very special guest. But before we get to our very special guest, David, who the heck is you, and what the heck is we doing here?
I spiritually am still in a bathroom in a bar on Santa Monica Boulevard.
Excellent.
No,
Hey,
I'm David, and this is the Chaotic Wholesome Table Talk Show, where every week we talk about table talk show stuff, TTRPG stuff, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how to be a better person, all with a focus on intersectionality and inclusivity so that everybody can have a good time.
And you find us here every Tuesday doing this. Tomorrow I'm doing a thing that I can't talk about. Thursday I'm streaming something. Not sure what that's going to be because we have now beaten Baldur's Gate 3. You can watch the entire playthrough over on Chaotic Wholesome Plays on YouTube. Friday, find me over in Entropy Emporium, where I'm going to be playing Brandon, the T4 Kimbo Ranger. And God, after that, more stuff I can't talk about. And then we're right back here for another Tuesday. So with that...
Next Tuesday?
Oh, that's right. I was looking directly at it. Saturday, come on by for Unlikely Heroes, where I get to be a player with our incredible special guest as our GM. Adam, who the heck is you? And what the heck brings you here?
Well, I'm Adam, Adam So Wizard. I'm super excited to be on this very ominous channel where we don't know what's happening. There's so many secrets. I am a game master and I teach improv and do the writing thing. And I'm also a performer as well. And yeah, that's like what I do. And I'm super excited to talk some TTRPG stuff. Love it, and I love being here, and I'm super excited to continue playing on Saturday.
Yeah, look, Matt, I'm working on 1, 2, 3 projects right now that I can't talk about, and it physically hurts. And that's on top of Emergency Power isn't releasing new episodes yet, even though we're recording them, and I can't wait to tell you what we've been up to.
Oh my
because
gosh.
it's the final season, and there's a war.
Ooh, pre-recorded stuff is like the worst when you're doing it and you're just like, I can't talk about it, I can't post about it, so you just post like really like, I don't know, inconspicuous gifs or like memes, and you're just like, this might be something.
And like there's some really cool stuff that I very much want to be like, yo, this is a really cool thing. Like I want to talk up my GM so much, who is another Adam. Also Adam, not this Adam, a different Adam, dueling Adams on Chaotic Wholesome.
I can't think of the science term, but we split
yes,
and then
you're both blonde.
Well, I feel like I'm more dirty blonde, brown, but I guess
definitely the blonde end of brown.
Yeah, I was blonde when I was very young. When I was like little, I was little Goku hair. So Goku in Super Saiyan was little Adam.
So first off, I want to jump in because I can't dirty Adam and clean Adam.
That is my 2 alter egos.
Poor Emergency Power Adam. It's so hard to keep me on the rails because most of y'all know chaos is like my thing, and on top of that, Soul is just a filthy character. Like Starfinder is the worst system for me to play in because you can do so much, and
that's
literally
awesome.
one of the backgrounds is Sensate, where it's like you just crave new experiences, and so like first thing Soul did when they met the shapeshifter is like, want to get down? Can you turn into me? Let's go. And everyone on the cast is just like, what? They'd been playing for 2 years at this point. I was the first character to get laid as the ace. It was very funny.
I mean, when in space, you know?
There's nothing like, hey, GM, I love that. I've really enjoyed listening to your podcast. Thank you for inviting me to be part of it. How do you feel about a little monster fucking? Hey, Lurking Writer, what perfect time for you to join in.
So what's going on with that werewolf? I mean, like, that Cthulhu monster got a number?
So, quite literally, Cthulhu monster shapeshifter is...
Oh, yay! Heck yeah, gotta get with that Mothman, you know what I mean?
Right.
For anyone who's going to GM for K, regardless of if your if their character is ace or actually fucks, there's going to be some weird sex stuff that happens, and it's either going to be weird because it's not happening, or weird because it's happening.
Heck yeah! I'm glad that I'm learning a lot about you. So that I can prepare for the game that I'm running. It's like, cool, add weird sex stuff.
For those of you who don't know, I am Ace. I was also the lead mod. Hello, Ren and Panda Carry. Hi. I used to be the lead moderator for DeviantArt for 15 years. So my sense of everything is very skewed. And again, there's the meme about the Ace being the raunchiest person you know.
Oh.
Yeah, like, yeah.
Kay has a character where she's desperately trying to get laid and can't manage it. Another character that is blissfully unaware that everybody's trying to fuck them.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then a character that executed the most elaborate masturbation in the history of sci-fi.
Oh, wow.
They asked
tell
the
someone
shapeshifter to turn into them.
Right. When you tell somebody to go fuck themselves, Soul is going to go do it. Except Soul is going to be like, little taller, please.
Yep. I'd put that on a business card to be
A little taller, please.
Hello, Ren. I got to speak to some people, some IGDA Foundation scholarship winners last night. So what a great first impression for one of them to come by.
Yay!
Hello. Thank
Welcome.
you for being here. Yes, this is the Table Talk Show where we talk all things TTRPG. We have special guest on with us today. David and I are the usual co-hosts. Adam is our special guest today. Adam is running a 5e reimagined module on our channels for the next 3 Saturdays. The edited, punched up video of Saturday's game will be up hopefully tomorrow if I can get the chapter markers done. I'm very excited for you all to see it. I had so much fun. I hope you did. You did too, Adam. So tell us, how did you come up with the story, the module? Because I know it's an edit of a module, reimagining. Tell us how the Unlikely Heroes came to be.
Oh, well, I just love genre stuff, like jumping into like jumping into like Wild West, jumping into like the Cthulhu. I mean, I feel like if you play TTRPGs and not just D&D, then you also like genre stuff. So like just kind of a love of that. One of my favorite APs is Dimension 20, and they just like jump around to a bunch of different genres. And I absolutely love that stuff. I love like the rules of like, or maybe not like the rules, but like the themes that the stories follow when you jump into like different genres and things. And this came from just like a want to, I think as a GM, I kind of like learned, I think as a beginning GM, we always kind of want to make like more serious type stuff. And for a while I kind of got over that. I was like, and a couple of years ago, I was like, I really want to do some sort of like lean into like the comedic type stuffs. And I really love Crown of Candy. Just like that kind of like vibe of like, it's a silly type world, but we're taking it very seriously. And I kept coming up, there's like one little note in my notes app that was like Lord of the Rings, but the Fellowship is dead type of thing. And like the heroes are like a talking tree, a horse, and like some other weirdos.
You had like Gelatinous Cube Barbarian. Hey, DC,
yeah, Gelatinous
welcome.
Cube. And I absolutely loved it. And also just like Lord of the Rings, the movies specifically have such a special place in my heart, and were really influential in like kind of like just my taste, the themes that I really enjoy. I know that D&D generally is a lot like more like darker, like a little bit more like, I guess, realistic, I guess, than Lord of the Rings. And then like we have, I think like D&D's in the middle, and then like Game of Thrones is over here, and then like Lord of the Rings is over here. And
where does
I kind of wanted
incest fit on that scale?
Definitely all the way over in Game of Thrones land.
I don't know. I've played some TTRPGs, my friend.
Right?
Okay, I guess it's in between D&D and Game of Thrones. Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to combine kind of like my love for like the comedic stuff, and also this kind of like melodrama of kind of like your Crown of Candy type stuff, where it's like we're super serious, we're getting into this. I mean, kind of like the Lord of the Rings thing, where it's like, we have to destroy this ring. There is no other way. The world will come. The Dark Lord will destroy everything. Like that kind of feeling. Yeah, I wanted to throw a game around it, and I started writing a thing a long time ago. Ran it with a cast that, depending on how things go, maybe there'll be a season 2. And ran it with them, and it was really, really fun. I was like, I would love to do some sort of like prequel thing, something I can kind of also run for folks in the community, like running games at libraries or on Start Playing and things like that. And what everyone always says online is the lost mine of Phandelver. That's what you need to do if you're a new player. And I'm constantly teaching new people, constantly trying to get my family to play.
Into damn mines of the fucking kobold so many times. Like Jesus.
Exactly.
Jesus, fuck.
Exactly.
Like,
and like I sort of tangent on this, I was terrified of modules for like forever. As a little baby GM, I tried to do, it was the Fantasy Flight games, like the Force Awakens thing. And I was like, one of my friends like in grad school, blah, blah, and they're like, hey, like, let's run this game. I was like, yeah, sure, I can totally fucking do this. I can do this. And I was like, didn't have time to really read over it. So I was looking at it in the moment and I was like, wait, oh no, I forgot to read this, and going back and forth. And I was just like freaking out. And at some point, one of the players, they like asked me a question like, oh, what information, or can we go this way? And I was like reading. He's like, you can just kind of like, you can just make it up. You can just decide. I was like, but I have to follow the module. Yeah. So from then on, I was like, no more modules. So this Unlikely Heroes was also a way of kind of like, I'm going to get the thing I'm scared of and kind of find out how it works for me. So this is kind of like a little self-experiment as well.
I'm gonna pop in real quick and say Nathan from Reckless Attack says silly thing taken seriously is a peak genre, which I very much agree with. And Lurking Writer said, speaking of the special guest, welcome Adam. Kudos for the DM work on Unlikely Heroes. You're an absolute master at herding the chaos cats that you call players.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I definitely subscribe to the judo redirecting way of GMing.
And
it's
you like
just way more
play
fun.
into our chaos too. Yeah, we had a really fun session 0 where like Adam was just like, well, there's a whole side bit going on here because I just realized this character's being weird. So that means this is what's happening over here. And it was like, I'm so sorry that we're like, no. That was really fun. We got to sit back and watch you do your thing.
Yeah, I love, because no one will ever see it. I feel like we should, Matt's character went to the post office and it was interacting with this post worker, and it turned out that they were like robbing the place because of just improv, and it was really, really wild. But
they like were gonna go on a date, but then she was also robbing the place, and it was just wild. We're all just like locked in.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I was
Candace,
panic.
Come on in, another star of
Yay,
Unlikely Heroes.
Welcome.
But yes, so you adapted this this module and kind of made it much more Lord of the Rings. And y'all, I wanna compliment. A lot of work goes into a TTRPG before the game starts. Like Adam we had group session 0, we had a group session 0 play. We had like so many back and forth individual calls so Adam could kind of get to know our characters. Poor Adam got to, oh goodness, I don't think my captions have been working this whole time, which makes
captions.
Okay,
how can we read?
I know, I'm very upset when that happens. But poor Adam got one of my characters where I'm like, this is one of those, I'm leaving a lot up to the GM, and Adam's like,
that's totally fine.
I have certain characters that have like pages of backstory, and then I have certain characters where I'm like, I've got these kind of facts, and tell me how they fit into the world. This is one of those, tell me how it fits into the world, and you can also surprise me in game.
I love both types of player, or both types of characters. It's such a gift as a GM to get both of those. Like I love amnesia characters where they're just like, I don't know what happened. I'm like, oh boy, this is not gonna be good for you. And it's so much fun. And then also I love the really well thought out backstories, because then I can kind of take bits of those pieces. I mean, it's just like improv. It's like someone has spoken something into existence, and now I'm going to yes and what they have given me, which is just so wonderful. So some characters are more reactionary, some are more in that other camp. So I love them both.
Yeah.
Um,
David, you got to be there for a lot of this chaos. Like, what has it been like being an observer from the start?
So Adam has this great idea of running a thing before the thing, just so everybody can get to know each other. And the only problem is that everyone didn't get to see it because it got super wild. Moose was my favorite character before the game actually ran on Saturday. And just, I am not a comedy person. And I feel, and it's weird to say that out loud because there are comedic films that I have enjoyed, but like, you won't catch me sitting down and watching, and like, I've watched a bunch of stand up. I used to go to the Comedy Store on Sunset fairly regularly, but you won't catch me like some comedian has a new Netflix special. I don't sit down and like watch stand up on TV, or there's like some new movie with Will Ferrell in it that is destined to not be funny. I'm not gonna sit down and watch Will Ferrell not be funny for an hour and a half. Like, I'm not that guy. But
Hey, Jason.
There's a certain type of like when things are too zany and too slapstick and too like floaty, like I hate all of that shit. And Adam drives this really great balance and really walks the line of, well, we're going to yes and really like move things towards this ridiculousness, but also still drives the story forward, and also still makes space for the characters to be there. Like the whole thing between Moose and his wife, is a painting. Like, just that whole, like, there was such a journey over like the 5 minutes of that happening. And he was just, it was, and he just hit all the right notes. And that's really hard to do, especially when you're someone like me who's kind of a stick in the mud. And it's like, oh, you're going to be funny. Just go drown yourself. Like, it's fine. There's a toilet in the other room. Like, if you need to fill up the sink with water so you can do double duty, I don't know how many places you breathe out of, but stick them both.
Double decker, get in there.
Looks like I have to fix the captions as well because I forgot to readjust Pixel Chat.
Oh no!
That's okay. I forgot to start my pick. We had captions for everyone except me. So, we're professionals.
Well, I mean, I mean, first off, I really appreciate that. I mean, I think in terms of like any sort of media, it kind of does a disservice for folks to not have the hills and valleys when it comes to like comedy and drama. Because I mean, the highs of either like comedic or dramatic are just like emphasized by the opposite. And I think, like, for example, I mean, this is gonna be a bad example, but like I like for like a Zack Snyder movie or something like that, where it's kind of like taking itself a little too seriously the entire fucking time, then it's like, and like the kind of, it doesn't really feel still stilted, but if you can throw in some good stuff that's genuine, like Taika Waititi and a lot of his like sort of like earlier stuff, like I think finds a really good balance of that comedy and that drama of like putting in the same stuff. And that's something I aspire to do.
The Lurking Writer says the absurdity within the drama and the drama within the absurd. The contrast is what gives weight to both.
Exactly.
I will say, like, when we started learning who was playing what characters and what this party was going to be, I was like, we're going to see how this goes. Right now, let me be clear. Everyone at this table is top
Incredible.
tier.
Mhm.
Everyone at this table is amazing to play with. And I was so excited because we had some names pretty solid. And then Adam was like, I might ask Matt from Improv and RPG. And I'm like, oh,
Yes.
Yep.
look, I got to play with him for the Pride games, and we did a one shot, and he was amazing. But there
Yep.
were so many talented people at that table that it was like, I'm like, I didn't get enough, right? Like,
Mhm.
I need another hit.
There's so many awesome people just like in this space, and it's just really awesome to be able to find everyone that kind of like gets the assignment, which is
Mhm.
really, really cool. And it's really awesome to see, especially I feel like episode 1 is a lot of setup, so it feels a little bit more on the rails than how the rest of the episodes are going to feel. So I'm really excited next time to just be able to let everyone go fucking nuts. So I'm really excited to just be like, here, you guys go be funny and amazing over here, and I'll just, when you're ready, we'll move on to the next thing.
Also,
when
my favorite part was you were like, all right, everybody roll for initiative. Now we're going to take a storytelling segue.
Yeah.
We'll be back in 20 minutes.
Yep.
And I was like, yes.
Yep. That is some
Perfect.
Brennan Lee Mulligan bullshit, and I
Yeah.
am here for it.
He's my dad. He's not my real dad, but he's my dad.
Not my father, but definitely my daddy,
definitely
Anyone
my
can be a
dad.
father. It takes someone special to be a daddy.
right?
That was an
Oh,
actual
man.
mug. That was an actual mug, and I'm like,
Oh, okay.
I know so many daddies who need this. But no, like, so when folks who have been on this channel know, I'm like, look, Matt Mercer is an incredible GM. Obviously, Campaign 2
Yeah.
Critical Role was so important to me, especially the time it came
Crazy.
out. Like, Matt Mercer is an incredible GM. But I want to run games like Brennan Lee Mulligan. That's who
Mhm.
I want to run games with. Because now look, I will sing all of Matt Mercer's praise. Like, the Mercer effect is BS, except from in some very rare occasions, and those are often people who have their own issues. Matt Mercer's great, but he doesn't know how to end a campaign. You know who does? Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Yes, very true. Brennan's really, really good at pacing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, because their seasons are like contained, they have a specific episode limit. But it's just like it's something I love. Okay, I have not really watched Critical Role. I tried to a couple of times. I just unfortunately, I don't know, just never really got quite hooked. Amazing, incredible, awesome stuff. But I think because I don't know, my ADD, I couldn't like pay attention or something.
I started watching Critical Role because it was the pandemic, and I literally had nothing
Oh,
else to
heck
do,
yeah.
and I
Perfect
missed
time.
my friends. So I was like, I can at least watch other friends
Yeah.
around a table. And I consumed all of Campaign 2 just as fast as I possibly could, and then jumped
Yeah.
back to Campaign 1 and went, oh, this is a very different tone, and it's much more
Oh.
problematic because they hadn't, it was their home game, and they're a bunch of
Oh, I
white
see,
Hollywood
right.
people,
Yeah.
right? Like,
yeah.
and there was very casual sexism, and there was just some very casual, like, and of course, all the women involved in it were consenting, right?
Mhm.
They knew the world, but like, the jump from 2 back to 1 was, I was like,
Mhm.
whoa.
Interesting.
But
You
sorry,
know.
continue.
But yeah, I just amazing, incredible vibes over there. But I think just what really hooked me about Dimension 10 was like the pacing and the humor, along with all of the really awesome, tender, or just super dramatic moments.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really get into Fantasy High. I got into Crown of Candy, and then got into oh my gosh, my absolute favorite, Starstruck Odyssey, was just fucking peak that kind of shit. And
I binged all
yeah.
of the Unsleeping City while I was packing for my move to New York.
That's wonderful.
That was wild. And then I got there and I'm
Beautiful.
like, I know all these places.
I know
Like, and of course you
you.
know they're real when you're watching it, but just being like, those 2 lions are gay when you walk into libraries. They're husbands.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
But-
I just love the pacing of it.
And when we jumped into the session 0, again, because this is a weird cast, and knowing everyone's talented, it's just like, how is this party going to work?
Yeah.
And it was so cool to just watch everyone just find, like, this is how you know you're working with really talented people, and
Mhm.
really talented people who recognize the talent of other people, even if, like, Candace and Piper have played a ton. Candace and I have played a lot. Piper and I played a little bit. I've mostly run for Piper. I played one game with Matt. I don't think the others have played a whole lot with Matt. Like,
Mhm.
we want to fix that. We want all of the Matt.
Yeah.
But like, just watching the party, like, it even felt like it happened more slowly in episode 1 than it did in the session 0. Session 0 was just like click.
Yeah,
I was
smash.
like, gave me that kind of freedom to, in episode 1, be like, okay, I can taunt Moose a little bit more. I can be a
Mhm.
little bit separate from him, because I know that when it's time, it's gonna click perfectly into place. And that's awesome. That's such a cool thing.
100 damn percent. I mean, uh, that's one reason why I structure all of the games that at least for stream like this, is because like one of the biggest friggin' things is chemistry, and you can't I personally can't have that when I have never even like talked to people before, and then we are meeting each other for the first time that day. I mean, even uh a session 0 where you just talk about like lines and veils and like kind of chit chat a little bit, it's not enough. You got to get in that state of play with people to be able to feel comfortable with them. And so like one of the big things, and I tried to do a bunch of different TTRPGs things with like consistent casts before this, and that was one of the things that I was like, this really helps. So
It
yeah.
can happen.
Yeah, I mean, hey, yeah.
But it is so much more rare. I will,
Yeah, rare.
It's not a thing that I want to heavily promote for reasons, but like,
Mhm.
I got to play Burton in an episode of Outbreak, and Burton had a partner,
Yeah.
and we had talked only via text about our characters and what is their partnership and what is their relationship beyond,
Mhm.
you know, and like, I cried at the end of that episode because of what happened with her
Yeah.
character. And we've hardly spoken since, but it's like, one of these days I'm going to get to play with her again, and it's going to
Mhm.
be and I can't wait, because it's like,
That's
we
great.
just went click. This is how we work together.
Yeah.
And people, Sarah, and people were reaching out to me going like, oh my God, how long have you all played together? I'm like, that was our first time.
Yeah.
And we like broke each other's hearts.
It's so beautiful when you find like folks like that that you just really connect with. I'll say Gainer Norcut, if you haven't played with them before.
No.
Fucking hilarious. I love them so much. And there's a countless other people that just was like, that was one that sort of like jumped out, but like just so funny, and just have really good attention to comedy, and then also the drama, the aspect, and it's really special when they come out. But again, putting when that doesn't happen, at least having a backup plan in terms of planning, and also just to make sure everyone's comfortable. Sometimes some folks need a little bit more time to kind of adjust, even if they are incredible performers. Sometimes it's just like that level of comfort before you're having to go live.
Chemistry is so important, and it's something that you can't quantify, and in a lot of cases something that you can't predict, because I've definitely seen tables with all really talented people, and I see like 4 or 5 people all like having a good time doing a thing, and then one person's just like like one person's just like, please let me out, please, I need to go. What is this? And it's like, did you not read? Like did no one tell you?
I mean, and we pick up on that as viewers subconsciously, if not actively aware, and it's going to make you uncomfortable. They're not going to watch.
Yeah.
So,
I have definitely been at tables where I was the person who was like, oh no, I mess with none of these people. And it's like, it is my job to get through this episode
Yeah.
and make sure the audience doesn't know. And then I will thank everyone for their time. And I will not trash talk,
disappear into
and
the
I will
ether.
not block, but I'm just gonna.
And yeah, and it goes both ways, because like I've seen tables where it's like everybody's having a good time, and the one person is just like, this is, to this or to that, but on the other side, like, and part of why Chaotic Wholesome exists is because both Kay and I have seen a table where there's like the one black person, the one femme presenting person, like the one Asian person, and then the white guys who are just making life difficult for the
Miserable.
one token at the table.
Yeah.
Or you have like a diverse table and a GM who's an asshole, and the GM is just making things difficult. But it's just like,
Ugh.
and you would think that it wouldn't be tough to get everybody rowing in the same direction. But some people are like, listen, I want to stay here and do this thing, even though it doesn't advance the plot. But I spent hours min-maxing this character, and I want to make sure that I roll and do this one thing that I built this character to do. And everybody else is like, but we don't have to, this doesn't have to be a sewer level.
Yeah, this is very
Yeah.
clearly not what the GM wants. It's gonna be more fun for everyone if we go where the plot is. No? Okay. Okay. But yeah.
And that also circles back to like many conversations we've had, whether it be about like, edgelord sort of characters, or just like these sort of like super edgy, dark, uncooperative characters. And I've said before, if you sit at my table, like, what are the things that, like, you can make your character be, and I have like no like restrictions or limitations or whatever, except you're here to do the thing that we're trying to do. No one should have to drag you kicking and screaming to. You're down to clown, and if you're not down to clown, bring a character that is down to clown.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, and those of you who've been around, I've talked on more than one episode about I love playing Edge Monarchs, but you have to play them a certain way. You can't play them like the anime protagonist. You can't play Vampire Hunter D in a TTRPG. As much as I love Vampire Hunter D, you can't do it that way. There are certain ways to do it. And I try really, like, even with Oda is kind of like my fun, like, I wanted to play creepy cute, right? I wanted to play creepy, not disgusting. I mean, there's certainly gross thing, depending on who you are. Writhing tentacles and licking your eyeball is definitely good, but it's not this thing is a serial killer kind of creepy, right? Like, try to find ways to make interesting characters that, yes, will be quirky, yes, will be attention catching, but also will fit in with, will at least be entertaining. Because if you're doing something odd, like, look at Sweet Bob. Sweet Bob doing all of Bob's things was triggering all of our anxieties. Like, all the players are like, I can't with this, right? Like, doing those fun twists and making sure that your characters fit with the party. They can be oddballs, but they have to fit there. They have to be going along, making a character who is weird or uncooperative and no good in combat and doesn't, like, that's when you get to have a real problem.
I think those types of characters are the hardest ones to play, even though they're so well, I would say it takes a more experienced, in a way, player to be able to play them well and cooperative, even though it's kind of like a trope in the genre. It's like, it's like, oh yeah, you can play these edgelord folks, but you have to do it in a very specific way, like you guys have been saying, to be able to be cooperative and to have that good version of metagaming going in your mind, of being like, this is a game, we are a team, have these in mind, while I'm being like, no, I have to stay in the back and I can't help you guys, but I guess I'll help you for right now.
Yes.
It's like, whatever, I don't care about you. Like that kind of shit.
Yeah. That was one of the, I'm so grateful that different Adam, the Emergency Power, like, I brought in, when I pitched my character for the Emergency Power podcast, I was coming in season 2, and I'm like, you know what this group needs? A shit stirrer. And I'm like, I want to bring in a problematic character at the lowest point in their life. And I like made sure I explained, I'm like, this is where I'm starting them. This is my goal for them. They're going to talk about leaving the party, right? I'm going to be very clear with all the players, right? You know, they're not actually going to leave. Here are all the safety rails that I have. Like, I wanted to be very clear that no one was going to have to make my jerk character stay around.
Mhm.
But it's been so rewarding because as they have joined with the party, found commonality, like actually formed friendships and bonds, I'm getting to actually change some of their fighting styles and take
That's
different feats and things that makes them more of a teamwork player. And actually getting to do all that has been like not just the character emotionally advancing, but actually their combat changing to work better with the group has been so rewarding. Get to do it mechanically as well as narratively. This is why I like crunchy systems, y'all.
And yet again, Kay manages to stumble headfirst into a min-max character.
To be fair, Soul is definitely not min-maxed. They're Solarians. They're basically a space Jedi. You know, they're like a space paladin. And charisma is their like primary spellcasting, channeling, whatever. It's not in the new version. Starfinder 2e just came out, and Solarians are strength based in that one, and I'm like, but
What?
they make charisma. But I chose a species that takes an inherent -2 to charisma.
Ooh, yes, yeah.
So definitely not min-maxed, but I may have found a stone that puts me at over 20.
Right.
Uh,
Yep.
Well, that's on my dex, not on my
Thank
charisma.
you.
But Lurking Rider says a GM is also a player. It's important that everyone at the table is having some degree of fun, even if / especially if the goal is drama / tragedy. Yes. And like comedy is very difficult to play. Like, comedy is very difficult to pull off well. And this is proof by how many bad stand-up specials are there?
Yeah.
How many bad improv performances? How many bad
Most
improv
of them.
troops?
I mean, honestly,
It's
that's
okay.
why I'm doing the game the way that I am, because I don't know if I could do a full just comedy podcast, man. That shit's hard.
It's really hard. And you know, even we were talking, Adam did not have a complete childhood because Adam has not seen all of the Labyrinth, has seen bits of it,
Right.
started it, but Adam did not get to
The
experience
hole
Labyrinth.
in my heart.
I have long been talking about, I desperately want to run a Labyrinth TTRPG. I have the plot structure in my brain of how it's going to
Ooh,
work, but
heck
I
yeah.
have to find the exact right players because Labyrinth is a children's movie and it is a comedy, but you have to play it like a horror because comedy and horror have the same setup. It's
Yeah.
just in a horror, the bad thing happens, and in comedy, the bad thing doesn't happen.
Heck yeah.
You have to play it just the right way because if you play it as, oh, we're all puppets and we're all, it doesn't come across right. You have to balance humor with the threat, or else it falls flat. Exactly. Someone get Adam that film stat. Well, this is the problem. If you did not experience the Labyrinth as a child, especially not a child in the 80s, you cannot experience it sober as an adult. It doesn't work the same way.
Because so for those of us who haven't seen Labyrinth, what stream canceled, time for a watch
Time
party.
for a watch party.
There's this underlining menacing tone. Like there is this like right under the sort of like not slapstick, but sort of like the ridiculous nature of like the puppets and whatnot. There is this threat. There is this. I had a word for it, and now it's gone. But and that's where the element of horror comes from.
Mhm.
Is because like right underneath it, there's the oh no, this could go very, very, very wrong. And you're like yelling at the screen, listen, white lady, maybe you should run.
Eat the
Maybe
baby.
this won't turn out
Don't.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. Lurking Rider says, I wouldn't know what it's like to not have been messed up by Labyrinth / Neverending Stories / Dark Crystal / Dark Cauldron as a youth. And Secret of Nim. Throw Secret of Nim on that
Oh,
list.
I have seen Secret of Nim. Secret of Nim, fucking dope as hell.
Have you
And
seen any of the others?
I think I saw think I saw Neverending Story, but I don't think I saw the whole thing. But I remember the horse part. I
The
remember being
Last
traumatized by the horse.
Unicorn. Look.
I have not seen Last Unicorn.
Oh, The Last Unicorn. The Last Unicorn. I used to watch it all the time. I own it. I watch it several times. I have the comic and the book itself signed by the author. Like, I love The Last Unicorn so much. I didn't watch it for several years, like, just because life happened. And then I watched it again after I turned 30. And when Molly meets the unicorn, that scene destroyed me. More psychic damage as an adult than as a child, y'all. It was... That's where I learned the word hussy. Says Candace. Yeah, we need to just have like an 80s movie marathon in the Discord, maybe.
I do gotta say, since we're bringing up movies that were weird, I guess that from the times, there's two that jump out in my mind, and I wonder if anyone's seen them. Has anyone seen We're Back?
Oh yeah,
with the dinosaurs.
The dinosaur one.
Has anyone ever seen Rock-a-Doodle-Doo?
Oh yeah.
I don't think I ever did see that one, but I remember all the commercials for it.
Yeah, I rewatched that when I was like in college, like both of those. Like it's like, oh, you go to the like Walmart or whatever, and you feel like that bin of just like old DVDs or whatever, and I picked them up. I was like, I want to watch these. I watched them. They fucked me up. Like it did something to my brain where it was like, remember the last time you watched this when you were like 4? And my brain was like, did like a somersault, and I was like, I was like walking around my apartment. I was like, something's not right. And then like the next day I was able to get over it, but I was like, what?
Some of the best advice I ever received was if you go through a life tragedy, if you lost a loved one, if you are, this is advice that was given for, if you are, doxxed, if you're being like legitimately harassed, right? Like that kind of high stress that comes with it. It's like, do not consume any good media. Only trash media when you are in that state, because sooner or later, years down the line, you are going to want to watch it again, and it's going to trigger all of those feelings. So don't watch anything good. Well, if you start watching something and you're like, this might actually be good, I might actually be interested, turn it off if you are in mourning.
It's like the acid stored in your fat cells or something like that comes back years later.
There was a song that was on Soul's playlist that I listened to a lot, that like very much triggered exactly how I felt when I lost my cat. Because y'all, I am Ace. My cats are my family, right? When I knew it was coming, it was it was a cancer thing, like it was a horrible, about our family. But I had to take it off my phone. Like it's still on the Spotify playlist, but I'm like, this can't be on the list that I listen to regularly because it triggers feelings in me still. I'm like, okay, well, don't watch it unless you're the type that sleeps better in deep nightmares. Every time I go through a breakup, I watch the 1980s classic Better Off Dead. It gets me through it. Doma Kame says 80s, the Never Got Over the Gate. That's the one that gave them nightmares. I also had The Legend.
Legend. Yeah, with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
That one's why it makes you feel weird. Like, I mean, even just watching it normally, you're just kind of like I don't know, there's like some sort of weird vibe, and you're like, I feel uncomfortable but like fascinated at the same time. It feels like a dream. It feels like a dream.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's people are listing off all sorts of like Ilaria Stormforge thought The Exorcist was funny when she was 9.
Oh no!
Like,
hopefully didn't watch the whole thing.
But yeah, like
oh my God, Stephen Dorff was in The Gate. Oh, that's so. Very quickly, there's a deep cut, and I don't remember the name of the movie, but everyone has a movie that they saw as a kid on TV where it's like, did no one else saw this?
No one else saw this,
and no one remembers the name of it, and it's almost like it didn't exist.
Yeah,
there's an Alice in Wonderland sequel.
Lurking Writer just put into chat, we're down the rabbit hole now, Alice.
Right, and it is so unhinged, and it is so sinister, and what so many of these movies have in common is they're goddamn sinister. And it's like, what happened in the 80s where they were like, oh
Yeah,
man, we're
they
gonna
just,
make a
like,
bunch of children's
greenlit all
movies.
this
And they're
stuff.
like, great, we're gonna make them terrifying, and it's
It
like,
was the Cold
what?
War.
Let's bring some horror up in
It was
here.
the Cold War. They were just like, you need to be aware that like life can be fine, but there's still like this underlying, because like when you look back at that era, like I'm just looking at what all was going. When you actually look at what was going on in the news, it's like, who thought to bring children into the world at this time?
Yeah, what a
Who
wild
really
shit.
thought that was a good idea?
Mhm.
Which I guess the same could be true now, but
Yeah,
um,
wild.
but kind of peeling it back to kind of the topic, because there is, I feel like, Unlikely Heroes does, in my mind, have kind of a labyrinth feel to it, in that there are
Okay.
funny moments, but there's like a real, I mean, maybe everyone hasn't seen it yet, but there's like some real heartfelt stories that are going on, and there's
Mhm.
a genuine quest. And even though these events are, even though it's goblins wanting to know what we had for breakfast so they can eat it after they kill us, right? It's still being treated seriously. Um, and that's just the stuff I love, of like, okay, this might be ridiculous, but it's still a threat.
Mhm.
And as people were saying before, finding that balance of the drama, the threat, and going through those highs and lows is so important. When we did
Mhm.
Godplane, every time we have to sit down and be like, okay, so when we're setting the scene, when it's a moment of tension, don't that's not the moment to do your comedy, right? This is not
Mhm.
That's What She Said campaign, right? If the mind flayer comes out, don't go whoop, 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 Zoidberg, right? Kill the monster, and then you can do that as the tension breaker, right? But the number of people, like more than one person, we've given that talk to, and they're like, okay, but I don't know how to not be funny, right? I don't know if I can
Mm.
do a completely serious campaign. We're like, we don't want you to be completely serious. We just need you
Yeah.
to not break the mood. And I feel like you picked so many people at this table who are so good at reading the mood and
Mm.
playing
Oh,
off
yeah.
each other and kind of building towards those both silly and sincere moments.
It is a big skill that takes quite a while to learn, and like there's special folks, and it also takes, I think, the interest to even want to do something like that, because like everyone wants to play, but it's like, um, I mean, I think, and that's why I took all of y'all's suggestions and Candace's wonderful suggestions when I was putting the cast together. Just be like, what are some people that you guys know that can like kind of fit this vibe, that can get this assignment, that have this awareness of scenes and stuff like that. And we found just perfect people to do that, because it takes a long time to kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
Even if from the outside, like as a writer, you're like, oh yeah, I can totally get that, but it's a whole different thing when you're improvising it in the moment,
Yeah.
to pick up on those things. So
And one
really
wrong
fortunate.
person can really just
Yeah.
throw off the entire vibe. Ilaria
Yeah.
says, I binge Crown of Candy hard. It was my first like viewing experience for any D&D, and I
Yes.
absolutely loved Saturday's stream here.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
So I want to ask, because we don't really do, for Unlikely Heroes, we don't really do talkback sessions. So I'm always like, was there a moment in the first episode of something that you did not expect, or someone making a choice that you weren't prepared for or didn't expect? Like, is any of those kind of like big moments for you?
Well, all of the flashbacks, because I told you all, I was like, you guys can decide whatever you want to do in the flashbacks. So the whole time I was like, all right, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? So loved all of those. Those are definitely, I guess, surprising. Um, I loved. Let's see. I think when another one that comes to mind was when Matt was like, "Oh, we're gonna." How he described his magic as being anxiety,
Yes.
like magic, being unsure, and then also, but trying to make it non-lethal. Because again, I feel like a lot of folks, especially in D&D, the instinct is to, when you're in combat, like, cool, we are in combat. Like, role playing and combat are completely separate. When we jump into combat, there's no more role play. We just kill monsters, and that is done. But I just absolutely love it. Always surprised and always delighted when folks bring that in to the combat. And what we'll learn more about Matt's character is they're just a big sweetheart, a big anxiety mess, and like just a true, I guess, anxiety paladin, I guess would be the best way of describing him.
Yeah, it's I love playing characters who give opponents the chance to run.
Yeah.
That is, I do that in so many games, and so few GMs will actually have characters flee combat when given the opportunity. So I'm like, look, I'll murder hobo my way through this. If you want me to kill all your sweet little guys, I will kill all your sweet little guys. But like, we don't need to fight all these. We're doing milestone. I don't have to grind for
yes,
levels.
Please and thank you.
Really frustrating because D&D doesn't have any dedicated like fleeing. Like there is a way to like for like player characters to flee, but like the mechanics for the de-escalation really don't exist. And the reality is most people and creatures and monsters and animals don't want to fight to the death.
Yeah, they don't want to fucking just go down. Yeah.
Like if you're getting like, you know, hunted by a cheetah, a cheetah is the most cowardly creature to ever exist. Cheetahs do one thing, they go fast. And so they go fast and you're not edible after they went fast, then they're going to go fast and go find something else.
Yes.
And so like, you know, you roll a combat encounter with a cheetah, it's not going to be like standing there like swiping at you for 10 rounds until one of you falls over. And with the way D&D is designed, it feels like that's how you got to design it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's because that's what, I mean, if folks come from video games, then that's how it is. Yeah. So they're just like, that's how it must be in D&D, right? One of the things I tell folks in like the games that I run for like beginners and stuff, when we run into, it's usually like the second combat that we do. I'm like, cool, now that we did like kind of a standard combat, this is the second one. We're going to throw some more stuff into it. But I want you to know there's a bunch of different ways to end this combat. I was like, yeah, you can fight and kill the dudes. You can fight and like knock them unconscious. You can like talk to them. You can find out a way about that. I was like, you can leave, you can run away, you can sneak, you can do something with the environment. There's a bunch of different ways. I was like, there's unlimited ways to like end or like finish this combat. And it doesn't have to be with just murdering the other dudes. I think at least in those situations, letting those players know, they're like, oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
And then they start to kind of get those wheels turning. And it's so exciting as a game master when people do that.
Teaching people how to be creative players is
exactly. That's the best, the most joyous thing. I can't come up with the words for it, but that's the best thing in the world.
Rex Faraday says, flavor your attacks. Keep it brief, but have some flavor in there. And Nathan says, add flavor or I will send it back to the kitchen. And the Lurking Writer says, Oath of Anxiety Paladin. There's a game I watch with a Circle of Anxiety Druid, and it brings so much to the table. And yikes. Hey, Jason, welcome in. It's because of the dread fear of attack of opportunity, but just leave. Yeah, and like that was one of the fun things on Saturday's game was like, Oda had no thought to go non-lethal, right? They don't care. But
oh my god.
Also, I as a player didn't know if any of this was going to work, you know. But Oda's like, you can run. Like I'm not here to kill you, but I will. And when it was like, okay, roll the check. Like, cool, awesome. Like this is going to be one of those, right? Because it wasn't like Oda was particularly trying to make them run, but just a reminder, you started this. I'm 3 foot tall. Wonderful. If you run away, I can't get over these walls and get to you. So.
Well, also, I think you were the one that were like murdering the most. So it's like all the other goblins are like, screw this. Like, I'm not going to die for some weird goblin wizard. Like, let's get out of here, dude. Right? Like, oh my gosh. Oh, and I have to throw this in before I forget.
Yes.
Back to the surprising question. When Piper left the goblin alive.
Yes.
That is their rival.
Mhm.
That is such a beautiful gift
So
to a
good.
game master, and I was like, oh, this is gonna come back. So that's very exciting. That was definitely another surprising moment.
Yes, David, what broke you? You have to share. Chat wants to know what broke you. as well.
Spice things up.
Oh.
Curry favor with your god's patrons. Add a dash of bardic salt. Pepper combat with a dash or two. Yikes. Also,
I can add.
it
Ilaria
ju-
says, if I can add Cajun mix to my fries, then you can add Italian herbs to your attacks.
Yeah. Throw a little oregano at the end.
Worrying is definitely a free action, as is crying.
yeah, crying is a free action. Panicking
Oh my gosh,
also free action. Though if you want to do it
there's-
at the disco, that at minimum a bonus action.
It's beautiful. There's this character in perhaps a campaign yet to come who I won't give it away, but their character is a coward.
Mhm.
But we're in D&D, we're still in combat, so they're still fighting. So they flavored their attacks as like accidents, or like,
I
or
love
they're
those.
crying while they're doing it, or someone else pushes them, and it's just again an accident that they slice the person. And they're like, oh no, and like, and they're always trying to run away, but it's just by accident or something, or they need to get to the other side or something. It's I love that
That's so
flavor. It's so funny.
I got to play a cowardly changeling rogue in a short little game, in a horror game. I love playing cowards in horror games. It's my
Heck
favorite
yeah.
thing. And my GM was kind enough to be like, I was like, I want part of this quirk to be that when they get scared, they lose control of their shifting. So if they get scared,
fun.
and the GM is like, I will allow it as like just a free action, like so long
Mhm.
as you're not abusing it, right? Like so long as you're not, no, I get to do this to deceive the person. And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm not that person. So I literally had a chart of all the other party characters and then like the most
Yes.
recent NPC, and I would roll a
Roll-
d6
yeah.
to see who they would turn into. Because suddenly there'd be like two versions of the same character on the battlefield, and it was so much fun to
It's
do.
beautiful.
Just ridiculous.
Random tables for like
Right.
character stuff is like one of the best things. That's why I love the Wild Magic Surge table so
Mhm.
much, and I use it all the time. And hopefully we will see that in the next episode. We will see more of those Wild Magic Surges because I
Yes.
just want them to happen.
Yes, because Lurking Rider donated them. So,
Yes.
thank you again.
Thank you.
well, and again, one of my joys is okay. So Oda was actually originally built to be a Starfinder character. I was supposed to play in a Starfinder campaign, on a really cool campaign on a channel. I was so freaking excited to get to do it. And they were going to be an evolutionist. And evolutionists are quite literally, as you level up, you are slowly turning yourself into whatever you were studying. So there are various ways you can do it. There's like a werewolf type. There's the Eldritch Horror, which is obviously what Odo's going to be. You can turn yourself into a cyborg. Like there's all these different evolutionary paths you can be taking. And the more you level up, the more of these traits you unlock. But then there's also like, you have to balance points within combat, because if you go too far into one, you lose control. And if you don't have enough, then you can't keep using your evolutionary powers. So I'm just sitting here going like, how do I really, this would be so much fun for this. And I've wanted to play this character for years. And finally I went, Adam, I kind of want to play this, and I don't know if I can make it work. I feel like I could maybe do this class if I can flavor this particular thing as Black Tentacle. And Adam's like, oh yeah, please, oh yeah,
Give it to me.
okay,
I want
okay.
it. Bring it.
okay. Because I'm like, technically this is like a ranged attack, but I just want it to be the tentacle arm that just goes.
Hell yeah.
You'd be surprised the number of GMs who are like, that's not really this written.
It's just such a shame when folks haven't like gone over that hurdle yet, because I feel like, I mean, I guess depending on how you were introduced to the game, you're just kind of like, if you don't experience this other side of it, then you're like, you're kind of in that camp, which is just like such a shame, because it's like flavor won't ruin stuff. won't ruin stuff. It's like when people try to abuse flavor,
Yes.
that's when problems happen. I think like I experienced this at some point when one of my players tried to use suggestion,
Mhm.
I think, that spell, and they just tried to like use it all the time in like the most uh like I don't know, like weird scenarios or whatever. Try to get uh like information about the big bad guy for like 800 episodes later or whatever, and I was like, oh, I don't know if we should do that. Oh, I didn't know how to deal with it. And then I eventually learned along the way. I was like, oh no, there's blah blah blah. So
Well, it's
yeah.
really interesting that D&D is currently going through this shift. So yeah, I used to work for DeviantArt, so I have studied fandoms and how they grow and
Okay.
evolve and fight for a
Ooh.
very long time. Like this is a thing that is this is my version of like this is my favorite flavor of sociology. The height of Tumblr was just like, oh yeah, oh yeah, which fandoms are fighting who today, right? It was I
Interesting.
followed fandom wars on Tumblr the way most people follow sports, right? It was my joy. Um, but fandom really, and now of course fandom goes all the way back to the Greeks when they were like, we like the earth, we like the sky, what if they fucked, right? The gods are just the original fan fiction. But in modern, it all kind of started with the Trekkies who were like, okay, so on this page, you said the tricorder weighed this amount, but then later on this episode, you said that it was this much more, and I'd like to know which one it is, right? Like fandom was bookkeeping. Fandom was consumption,
Stats.
ordering, yeah, stats, like being able to quote, like that was what was fandom. And then the Kirk and Spock shippers came in and they went, no, we're going to create on top. And look, there were other Star Trek fans who did other things, but it was, let's be honest, it was primarily the Kirk and Spock shippers that made this happen. And we watched this shift within fandom. Redshirt guys, yes. We watched this shift where fandom has moved from just being recording and bookkeeping and accounting to also creation, putting your own twist on things. We
Hmm.
watched I remember when crossover fan art was like, ooh, weird, scary. I'm not sure you should do that. Ooh, like I kind of like
Yeah,
that,
it
but
was
ooh,
frowned
it's a
upon.
little bit weird.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really frowned upon.
Oh,
And then
interesting.
Kingdom Hearts came out, and suddenly
It was okay.
They
crossover
made it
art
all
was allowed,
okay.
right? It was
Huh.
all okay. So we've seen these
Wow.
weird artificial barriers that people have put onto fandom. And it's very interesting because we are currently in that state where the old guard who were like, it's rules as written. You
Hmm.
go, why are you doing milestone XP? I should be able to kill X amount of goblins, get to this level, have this amount of gold, buy this item. Like they have planned this path, and anything deviating from that, they're here to roll dice, see how big their numbers go, see their numbers go up, and that's fine. That is a
Yeah.
legitimate kind
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
of play.
I was really gonna be like, in defense of rules as written GMs, and then you're like, milestoning. Why are they doing milestone? Listen, we have to do enough math as is,
Yeah. I can't keep
especially
track of
as
that shit.
GMs.
Mhm.
Like the number of times Kay is running a thing, and I'm over here with the calculator on my phone and the calculator on the computer, punching it in like I'm on a fucking mothership
Mhm.
to spit out numbers at K, and K is just like, fuck these numbers. Like this is just ridiculous. And is right to do so. But also like being a GM is spinning plates. And like
Hmm.
for those of you who did not grow up in the 70s, there were variety shows, and one of the acts would be they would have sticks and they'd get plates and they'd spin the plate, and then they'd get like 7 of them going at once. And that's the metaphor. Um, and being able to balance a bunch of different things that are happening at the same time is a skill. And then also like the creative part of it is a skill. Like the whole point of modules existing is so that people don't have to come up with things from scratch. And so there are people out there who haven't fully developed the skill of both like deviating from the path and finding your way
Hmm.
back, while also building a new mechanic on the fly and keeping it going.
And dealing with the chaos that your players are bringing, because your players are never not bringing chaos.
And then there's also this like negotiation with the player of, okay, we just on the fly built this new mechanic, and we're going to like work together to sort of solidify what's fair while also keeping it cool, while also making sure that it's not like ridiculous. And there's a give and take there, and doing that negotiation on the fly with a player, and like for people who are like conflict avoidant, going and saying, hey, so I gave you a dagger that gave you advantage on dex checks and you're level 2, that's a little much, maybe we can switch it to a +1, is a conflict that you're going to have to introduce. And some people don't want to do that confrontation. And then also everybody has an experience where they're like, hey, can we do this reasonable thing? And then the other person explodes.
Yeah.
And so for the rules as written GMs, like a lot of times that's for us who are experienced and who lean into the creative and the chaotic, they are prison bars. But for other people, they are those
safety net.
Yeah, and or the bars that they have in showers for old people so that they don't fall.
Yeah,
I forget what they, but yeah, you hold the thing, and so it's like it's a support system that helps them do the thing that they're doing. That said, if Kay shows up to your table, you shut up and you do what Kay says. The end.
I think that's a wonderful point, though, is that like, you know, that you can lean on these rules, and there are a lot of people that do that, and that's perfectly okay and perfectly awesome. And that's what I found actually for a long time. I was like, screw the rules. And then I found myself in trouble a lot where I was like, I don't know how to adjudicate this, or like, I don't know, I was kind of stuck, or I would kind of do combat until it felt good to end. And then I started being like, you know what, I'm just going to do what rules is written, blah, blah. Baldur's Gate 3 came out, and I found the joys, I mean, before that, but I found the joys in like just doing combat how it is, rules is written, or just doing things rules written. I was like, this is fun as hell. And it's finding that balance in there is really tough, and takes a lot of experience.
If you have not figured this out yet about me, Adam, you will soon, because I am 100% the person who's like, okay, rules is written, this 100% doesn't work, but can I? And like
100%, yes.
Always as like clear as I can be, like, I recognize this is bullshit. You can say no. I have no problem when a GM tells me that is pushing it too far, because I'm like, look, and this is, as people know, those who hang out on this channel, I'm not a very big fan of rules light systems, because I never know when I'm pushing
it's hard
that boundary.
Right?
Because something I've been straight up told, something that seemed perfectly reasonable that my character would have because of the I'm like, okay, cool, I want to use this perk that I have to get this item to be prepared, because my character canonically would have known this. The player didn't know, because we just made this decision 20 minutes ago, and now that this is part of the game, I think they should have this. Jib's like, I'm like, okay, well, now I don't know where the rules are. I like being able to go, rules is written, no. And like, hey, rules is written, there's no reason this shouldn't work. But I also understand if you're going to say no, it's still not going to work. Hey, Nicole, I will do all of the math to find out if the thing is possible, but also do the same calculations over and over. No, that's what software is for. Yeah, Nicole does science professionally.
Science
is real math. Yeah. The most math I do is I go grocery shopping and I keep a running total in my head. That's
I can't even do that.
Peak of the math that I do.
Most math I do is at the table, and I usually fuck it up.
Yeah. Dyslexia is it's like why this hobby involves math and reading.
Yep.
Those are the two
Yep.
things I'm not good at as a dyslexic. Why do I do this?
Because it's beautiful. It's wonderful.
It is.
And
Um,
one little comment about Baldur's Gate 3 is
Oh.
Kay is notorious for breaking encounters.
Yeah.
Kay
heck
will
yeah.
look at an encounter and be like, huh, the only way out of this is to roll a 20. Oh, look, a 20.
Heck yeah.
And also,
He's on one of those 99 checks, those DC ones.
I rolled a nat 20 on a
Heck
99,
yes.
and people in chat called the shot. Ribbonanza was like, because we knew Ribbonanza knew what part we were getting to, and was like, I can't wait to see Kay roll a nat 20 on that encounter.
and boom. But also, a testament
that
to
happens.
how good a game Baldur's Gate 3 is the fact that Hay will do some like encounter breaking stuff where it's like, yes, I understand that you're a major villain, but what if you just didn't?
Yeah.
And then,
What if I asked you very nicely?
right.
Mhm.
And the game, instead of like being like, no, you can't do that, or just breaking, is like, hey, we saw you coming. We saw that you were going to be the person to think your way around this, and we built it in so that you could go around this thing. And that is incredible. And that also like captures it captures the Matt Mercer ripping up the paper and throwing it into the trash can
Yeah.
in Baldur's Gate.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful.
Yeah, as lurking writer put it out, it wasn't just that nat 20. That was my third nat 20, and for a person who rolls notoriously an obscene amount of ones, just a truly obscene number of nat ones, as David will. 3 nat 20s was
Yeah, Kay will give
That's
you
awesome.
12 nat 1s, 1 7, 1 15, and 4 nat 20s, except the nat 20s come when you need them.
That's beautiful. It's really great when you find the dice. I feel like call them
Yeah.
like story dice or whatever. Like
Yes.
this yellow pair is always the exciting story dice, where it's like that kind of stuff. The wins come when you need them, or the loses come when they're really exciting.
That reminds me,
two
I have to pack
dice.
my decider.
These
Heck
two
yeah.
dice are for my they're actually for Burton in the horror home game, which I wanted to tell you, Adam.
Mhm.
So Adam got to play, I was so fortunate, we got to play characters with a history in a Mothership one-shot run by Candace the Magnificent. And Burton is a character I've played a couple times, and we were on hiatus in this game. I had a game go on hiatus for 8 months, and it is now back, and we are playing weekly. Like,
Heck yeah. That's
there is
wonderful.
hope. Never give up hope. And so the reason I'm showing off those two dice roll so low. They roll so many nat ones, and Modifius is a 2d20 roll under system.
Oh, hey.
So I'm like,
heck
I
yeah,
cannot
heck
use
yeah.
these two for D&D. They have
Find
to
the right
stay
ones.
doing that. But I play Burton in this home game,
Mhm.
and it's this custom world. But we have now 2 characters from Wissia, which is, again, it's a homebrew world from the GM who's been working on this world for like 7 or 8 years. In Wissia, all the characters in there have Russian accents. And
Ooh.
so once like we kind of learned, oh, this is how these characters speak, this is this kingdom, your character is an NPC in Burton's hometown.
Yay!
In Chalice. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
That's wonderful.
They're running around with 2 Wissians now and just like, y'all really remind me of someone.
I feel like
And
I had a
one of
dream
them's a
once.
scientist tinkerer.
That's wonderful. I love that. Heck
yeah.
yeah.
It is. Candace is also if you were watching the chat in Saturday's game, like Candace, there were lots of nods to Candace's other characters. Candace is very good at connecting worlds like that, and it brings me
yeah.
joy whenever that happens.
Yeah.
But we are reaching the end of our time together. Chat, if you have any questions for Adam,
Yeah.
if you are now, look, y'all. One thing I want to talk about is when I was trying to figure out D&D, right? I was new-ish to thing, and I was like, I want to learn the rules so I can GM. And I went to the helpful places, and I went, what's the best way for me to learn the rules of D&D? And everyone's like, go take improv classes. The best thing you can do for D&D is improv. And I'm like, yes, but that doesn't teach me the rules of D&D. But once you know the rules of D&D, playing with really good improvers, ooh, does that make the game fun? And Adam, you are so quick and you are so good at characters, because I've taken a couple improv classes, and everyone was trying to funnel me into like the U plus. There's kind of two schools of improv. There's U plus, which is like you don't play characters as much, you just do improv scenes, and then there are character focused. And I did like 2 years of U plus, and I'm like, I don't really like this. And then I got into a character focused school, and I was like, oh, this is where the fun is. Adam, you are so incredibly quick, and your characters are so robust immediately, and you yes and everyone so well. It is truly incredible. And if you want to play your own version of Unlikely Heroes, Adam is available as a GM on Start Playing.
That's right. You can come and join me there. I have a game on Tuesday and Thursday right now, but if there's other days, we can make it happen. Thank you so much for the wonderful comments about improv. During the pandemic, I started doing improv myself through Second City, and now I teach some like beginner improv classes as well. And everyone can learn. It's a wonderful skill to have if you really love playing TTRPGs. If you're not taking it from me, take it from anywhere, because it's such an incredible, wonderful skill. And also just I'll go on a tangent talking about how how many like soft skills you learn from doing improv, just being able to interact with people better, being able to speak your mind more, being able to have fun in like just day-to-day activities, being able to play with folks. It's just incredible skill to learn. And even if you don't want to be a stand-up comedian or sketch writer or an improviser or whatever, just for fun, it's just such a wonderful skill to have. So
Yeah, it makes your brain more flexible.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool thing, especially if you're, like me and not 20 anymore. Have you ever, I want to ask, this is just a personal, before we do have a question that I'm going to ask from the chat, but have you done musical improv?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard. We did, so like we in the Second City program that I went through, I wish we did it more. Maybe I wouldn't be so afraid of it. But in the class, they did like, I think we had like 7 weeks or whatever, and one of the days was like half of the class was devoted to musical improv. So like whenever it came, we were all like, oh, I'm nervous, because we didn't have it as often as we could to actually get good at it.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting to learn. I am terrible at rhyming. Do not ask me to rhyme. I will not get it any of the time, except right there.
No more rhymes now. I mean it.
But yeah, very hard, but so cool.
Yeah. When I was at Magnet, I had gotten to a high enough class level where they're like, you can take musical improv next. And I'm like, thank you, no. I, number one, can't sing, and number two, no.
It is really cool to learn the structures of how like how songs are like normally put together. I mean, like, yeah, like verse, chorus, blah blah blah, but thinking of how to do it easier, how they teach it, where they're like, here in the chorus, use as like few words as possible, try to repeat the thing 3 times and do something different on the 3rd time to transition back. Make it super simple, the melody, just make it like go to like a tonic and then like go to the 3rd and just go back, and just it's really fascinating as like a music person to kind of like get the improv perspective on how they make it easier to make up songs on the spot. with like melodies and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. I'm really
Yeah.
bad at it, but this is really interesting.
Yeah.
So
I feel like that's one of those classes I would want to sit in on, but it's
yeah,
also not at all the same. Like sitting in on an improv, you're sitting in on an improv cast screws it up for the improvers,
it does. They're like, oh no, and then people are watching.
right? The Lurking Writer wants to know, Adam, what can you tell us about episode 1 from your POV that won't spoil things for the players?
My POV. I wish I could ask. I wish I could
let's
get
see.
some clarification on
Following
that.
up, by which I mean what really stood out about how things unfolded versus how you initially thought things might go.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, this is gonna be a bit of a disappointing answer, but it kind of went the way that I kind of expected. I think it's mostly because there wasn't very many choices in the first episode. There's a lot of like setting the stage.
I mean, I
for
didn't have to
things.
kick that crow's tail feathers.
You didn't have to. Okay, yeah, the crow, super surprising.
So funny.
I knew that that Oda was not going to interact with anyone, so I was like, what can I throw in to give them something to do in their introduction? So that was, I guess, a little surprising. Yeah, I think it all went pretty pretty close to kind of like what I expected. It's really the decisions in the second episode. If we had another one of these, I would love to answer the question for episode 2, because that's where all like the sort of decisions and stuff kind of come in, and those are the kind of things that kind of where I expect stuff to happen or not. I guess one thing I was expecting y'all to maybe capture Captain Restaurant, but what was it, you or someone else murdered him? Oda murdered them. So I was like, oh, okay, I was expecting a little bit different, because I was like, I had a funny voice and everything, but I was like, but they're dead. I'll come on a different one.
That's the problem. Like, this is how I play like creepy weird, right? Like, I have no desire to hurt anyone, but if you start it, I don't have the social understanding to be like, oh, maybe we should.
Maybe it's over.
Get information, right? Like, you can run away if you just stop attacking me. You can leave. I just want to go read my book.
No, that's perfect. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about because this is slightly different from the version that I've run like with other folks, but it is really interesting to see how everyone comes at this first combat, because I played it with like some teenagers and they're like, murder everyone. They're like, no one needs to get away. Where they're like, we can't, like, they're gonna go back and tell the other goblins. And then another way with like some other adults where they're just like, oh, like, we'll capture a couple. It doesn't matter that they get away. And then it's really interesting to see how everyone kind of comes at the combat differently. So yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, any final thought? Like, again, I am very excited to play more. I can't wait to be my weird, creepy little guy with this amazing party. Like, again, I would not have. I was very concerned about this party meshing, because party meshing is a huge deal for me. Like, as a player, as a GM, as a showrunner, and just seeing everyone just and being like, okay, all of these oddballs. There's what's the line? I think it's a line from an Incubus song. But there's a line about like, what's wrong with you is good for what's wrong with me.
Oh, that feels very much
like this. Ilaria says, I have no questions. I just want to thank you and congratulate you on a wonderful stream and show, and looking forward to more. And yes, thank you, Adam, for putting up with our tech issues, but I'm so glad we were able to muscle through and wrap things up, and I can't wait to see what's coming in episode 2. Kayla Kobold has me wanting to play a horned lizard kobold that will definitely be shooting blood from their eyes. Yes.
Heck yeah. I will say, I guess this one last thing, since I'm thinking of it,
Uh-huh.
for folks who I guess do know the the Lost Mine of Phandelver module, um, this is definitely not going on the path of that module. I took the skeleton from it and threw everything else away. So if you're like, oh, we're just going to be seeing the same thing, you are very much not going to be seeing the same thing. I looked at the module. I was like, okay, this is interesting. I don't like this, and I'm going to
Don't
change
like
everything else.
Yes.
So yeah, so if you do know it, some lot of surprises. This will be a completely new thing. So stay tuned.
Lurking Rider says, I greatly enjoy breakdown episodes to learn what DMs or players think of how the game went. Yes, I love doing like kind of talk back or after shows. But you know, everyone at this table is very busy, and I'm just so happy that we found 4 Saturdays where we could all come and do this. Really gets that way once you get to the village. But no, I'm so excited. Adam, thank you again.
Yes.
If you don't TPK in that first goblin encounter, yeah,
They did great.
we
Did
did.
great.
I think we did okay. We did pretty not bad. When the fire started, I'm like, oh no, this is where it could get very bad, especially as my little idjit doesn't have enough common sense to like run or hide.
They both missed their friggin' little Molotov cocktails, and I was like, man, that could have gone pretty bad, and I'm really sad that they missed. I'm glad you guys are alive, but I'm also sad that they missed.
The joys of GMing, like this is my little black rainbow dice. I'm like, this one rolls so low, so I'm like, I only get to roll this when I'm playing Modifius or when I'm GMing, because I will roll this so my players can feel good.
Heck yeah.
So Adam, remind us, where can we find you? And what can we hire you for? And what anything else you have coming up that we can support you in?
Look to the stars and you will always find me. I am there in the inky blackness. No, that's not really my vibe. I am Adam. You can find me at Adam So Wizard. Yeah, I won't take your thing. I swear, Oda. You can find me at Adam So Wizard on the internets. I do the game mastering thing. I do the writing thing. I teach improv. And do the performance stuff. You can go on to Start Playing, and you can play this game or some other games like it if you'd like to try out this game stuff as like an experienced player, or if you have some folks that have not played before. I built a system and custom character sheets and a simplified character creator just for people, just for new folks. I worked with my family who are not performers and not nerds at all. They were able to do it, and a bunch of other folks. So if you're interested in something like that or whatever, send folks my way. Would be happy to play some fun games. Yeah, that's me.
Lurking Rider says, my views on joy and happiness. The beauty is the more we share, the more we have. Leonard Nimoy. Exactly. And yes, we try to be so danged wholesome when we're not being chaotic and dirty-minded and all of that. David, who the heck is you and what the heck have we been doing here?
I spent an inordinate amount of time looking for the right mod tool. And I have to familiarize myself with that. But hi, I'm David, and this is and has been and will be the Chaotic Wholesome Table Talk Show, where every week we talk about TTRPG stuff, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how to be a better person, all with a focus on intersectionality and inclusivity so that everybody can have a good time.
And I am Kay. I have been your other host. I am pulling up the book again because I've got 3 calendars in this room, and I still manage to miss the things I'm working on when trying to rattle this off. Tomorrow, you can't see me doing anything because all of that is either home game or NDA, and you will find out eventually. But Thursday, I will be here playing something, figuring out what. Friday, find me over at Entropy Emporium playing Brandon on the Weird Wilds Wars. That's the Himbo T4 Ranger. The big reveal of Brandon's secrets coming out next episode because I can't hide it anymore because He's gonna finally figure out what's happening.
Ooh.
Saturday, Unlikely Heroes. Join me and Adam and Candace, who's been hanging out in chat, Matt, Improv and RPG, and Piper, Maddie Matihi, and we will be back doing more chaotic things in Adam's wonderful world filled with colorful and unique NPCs. Like, your NPCs bring me joy. Your NPCs are on a level with that Bronze Girls NPCs in my brain.
Oh, wow.
and
Compliments.
I love her NPCs so much.
It's great.
But with that, we are going to the secret. Brandon loves pineapple upside down cake. Kay does not. Brandon might. I feel
I was
like
like, who wouldn't? What's going on?
I don't. Pineapple is bad. Pineapple is a very bad thing.
Mm.
But thank you again, chat. You are wonderful.
Thank
We are David. Who we rating?
Cypher.
We're gonna go see Cypher of Tyr, who is just chatting but might flip over to a game soon. So thank you all. Remember, be kind to yourself, be excellent to others, and we will see you Saturday, I hope. Bye, y'all.
Bye.